Hi, I'm Shalom, and today we shall study about the non-finite verb, that is the participle or the verbal adjective. Now, what is a non-finite verb? A non-finite verb does not form a change in its tense or a subject. For example, I say I like to play chess, or I'll say my mother liked playing chess in her young age. So it does not form a change in its tense or a subject. Now we will learn what is a participle. We also remember that a non-finite verb can never be used by itself in a sentence. We always need a finite verb to make the sentence complete. Now let us see about the participle. What is a participle? We also call participle as the verbal adjectives. The definition of participle is a participle performs the function of both an adjective and a verb. A participle is a form of a verb that is used to modify a noun phrase, a verb phrase, and play a similar role to an adjective or an adverb. A participle can be found at the beginning or the middle or the end of the sentence, but they must be close to a noun or a pronoun they modify. Now we can see that a participle has a feature of an adjective and a verb. Mostly they have features of an adjective because adjective can modify a noun or a pronoun that affects someone or something. Now let us see the three forms of participle, that is the present participle, the past participle and the perfect participle. Now let us go to the first one, that is the present participle. A present participle shows an action which is going on or incomplete or imperfect or unlimited. The action is incomplete. We have an incomplete action. For example, I say the old man was walking. We can say we could see the old man walking, or the old man had a walking stick. We can say the old man is walking homewards. It is continuous, it is not complete, or it is not imperfect, or it is not unlimited, or it is unlimited. It forms the continuous tense, that is the ing. We have the verb and the ing, which is called as the present participle. Now we can see that the present participle is also used as an adjective. Now adjective we can have for example, I say the old man had a walking stick. So it expresses a past participle as well as a noun. So we say it also forms the active voice. For example, I say the birds are sitting on the branch of a tree. Active voice means it is a doer of the action. Now we also see that in present participle, when two action, we see the sentence over here, the children ran shouting. We can say the children ran, they shouted as they ran, but here we say the children ran shouting. So shouting becomes the present participle because it has an ing. Here, when two actions by the same subject happen at the same time, is expressed by the ing form. And this ing form may come before or after the main part of the sentence. So we see the next sentence, hearing a noise, I turned around. So when I say when an action happens just before an other action, the ing form comes before the main part of the sentence. We see here, hearing a noise is one sentence and I turned around is another action. So we see that the action ing comes before the main part of the sentence. We also see the ing form is often used after many verbs has subjects. We can see the verb began. They began singing. You can see the bird singing. Or we can also use the ing form in many verbs such as advise, avoid, begin, consider, continue, deny, dislike, enjoy, fancy. We can also use verbs in verbs of sensation like see, hear, feel, notice, watch, find, observe, listen, keep, get. You can also use all this present participle, that is the ing form, after prepositions. So we see that whenever there is an incomplete action, it's called as the present participle, that is the V1. Now let us go to the second participle, that is the past participle. The past participle shows an action which is completed. For example, we see the jug was broken by the cat. It helps to form the perfect sentences. We can also use past participle as an adjective. Example, the terrified woman began to cry. You normally see that the past participle ends with ed, d, t, n or n, and it forms the passive voice. So we see, for example, the jug was broken. So we use an en over here. So whenever there is a verb plus an ed or an en or a d or an n, but mostly we use ed or en, then we use the past participle, that is v3. Now we also use past participle as the starting of an adverbial, such as encouraged by his friends, he took dancing classes. So here we use ed, that is their past participle. Now we'll go to the last participle, that is the perfect participle. The perfect participle has an having plus v3, that is the past participle, which we have learnt earlier. So having plus past participle is the perfect participle. Here we see the action is also completed, but the past time of the action is completed. The duration, we can see the duration of the past time which action is completed. For example, I have written here, having done his homework, John walked out of the house. Here we see that the perfect part emphasizes that the first action is complete before the second one starts. Now we see that the second point, we see that the perfect participle is however necessary when there is an interval of time between the first action and the second action. For example, I say having failed twice, he didn't want to try again. So there is an interval of time over here between the two actions. So we use in the perfect participle. Now the third point is that it is also used when the first action is covered a period of time. So example, having been his own boss for such a long time, he found it hard to accept orders from one another. So we see here the first action is covered a period of time. So we see that the perfect participle having an have plus past participle, and the action of the past time is completed. Now, what is the difference between a participle and a gerund? There is not much difference because it is difficult to differentiate between a participle and a gerund. The difference in a present and past participle can be quite different in meaning. For ing adjective tells about the job, whereas ed tells about how somebody feels about it. A past participle has various endings such as ed, d, t, e or n. For example, I say broken window, painted, destroyed fridge. Participles are also used for four main purposes: has the main verb in tenses, has the adjective to describe a noun, has adverbs how something is done, in phrases to give additional information. They generally come before the noun they modify. They may be also linked to the subject of the sentence by a linking verb such as to be, or but is also used as an adjective which comes after the noun they modify. Or they also may following a linking verb such as be, become or seen. So we see that participles can take objects, tenses such as present, past, future and the voice, and they're actively doing something. So we see that participle can perform the action of both the adjective and a verb. So don't get confused between participle and gerund, as we use ing form in both the both the forms. Thank you.